All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with our October edition of the Superpower Podcast. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't this usually supposed to be around the beginning of each month? Well, yes. And as of right now, on the date you're going to be seeing this, will be October 15th. So, which puts us about halfway through the month. So, a little bit on the late side this time around, but better late than never. Nonetheless, though, I do have my regular co-host with me, Nick. Come and party with Nick. Excuse me.
Hey everybody, it's
Yeah,
time
but
to come and party with me and Mark, and of course another special guest as we'll hear in a second as we do our regular podcast episode.
yeah, and I almost introduced him as Nick the Enlightened mainly because that's how I've been used to saying it for like these last several months until the recent name change. So it's kind of ingrained in my brain. I mean, I mean, at the same time, I still kind of understand why the name change was made. But anyways, I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, the new voice that we have that Nick was mentioning is his friend Slayer. So welcome aboard, sir.
Hello, I'm happy to be here, and hopefully we can have a great podcast for the people and everyone.
Yeah. And I should point out this isn't just his podcast debut on my site. It's also the first time he's appearing on my channel, period. Because as far as I know, I don't think I've had him in any of my other videos.
I don't even think we've interacted before, so yeah, this is the first time. It's nice meeting you as well.
Yep. Alright, so we have a few things that we're gonna go over. And, the first one I'm gonna go over has to do with a recent release from the beginning of this month, which is the debate on whether the whole Mario Galaxy bundle, which of course includes Galaxy 1 and 2, is that worth $70? And obviously that depends on what point of view you have. I mean, for if you're someone who's never played those games before, which are really both good games, by the way, if you're someone who's never played those before, then yes, it would be worth the money. On the other hand, if you've already played them, then you're basically just paying for upscaled fixtures and some minor new content additions, in which case it probably wouldn't be worth it. But then again, to each their own opinion.
Yeah, in my opinion, like I said, I really do love Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 a lot, and I think they're both some of the best games of all time. But even with that in mind, and the fact that I am glad this new Switch version of repackaged of both games exists, I still don't think it's worth $70 because I mean, like you said, it's literally just paying for slightly better resolution, of course, some new storybook pages, and at that point, charging a full $70 for basically what are 15 and 18-year-old games respectively just feels like a ripoff. Now, honestly, if it was $50 together, and I know I might get some shit for this. I actually think that I'd be fine with that price because at that point I'd be going like, look, it's two of the best games of all time. It's got some additional content in there. They've actually done stuff with the visuals a little bit. Like, yeah, obviously it still wouldn't be a great price, but at that point, if they were both $50 together, like in the combined package, that is, I could definitely at least understand that. But at $70, it's like no way. Also, hey, Purple.
Oh, hey. Also,
Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so, yeah, well, this is another friend of Nick's, I do believe, as he mentioned in his DMs to me yesterday as of recording date, so I would like to welcome you aboard, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. So, yeah, so right now, basically, we're just going over whether we think the recent release of the Mario Galaxy bundle is worth the $70. And just to clarify, I'm referring to $70 in US money. Because up here in Canada, that bundle's worth, I believe it's worth $100 Canadian,
Oof.
which is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
but yeah, do you have any thoughts on this? I guess Slayer or Purple.
Yeah. I
What I've
personally agree
seen,
with you.
what I've seen, it's like a scam. It's like the original even looks better than the remake. I would argue in some aspects. Like I've seen the two compared, and it's just like it's more pricey and it doesn't seem as like good as the OG.
Yeah,
I definitely think they could have like did a lot better, but that's my view on it. What about you guys?
Uh, well, I know there's one negative that I had with the original Wii versions of both games, and I think it should be pretty obvious negative. The motion controls. But of course, back then that was kind of really the only way to play on the Wii, so not really much that could be done about that. Thankfully, though, you can use the regular Pro controller on these new versions. Although there is also the option to use the Joy Cons and basically replicate the field motion controls from the Nintendo Wii era.
Hey,
yeah,
that sounds like a pretty good aspect. I will say that, but still, the overpricing is like not wanting me to get it because I don't even have a Switch 2 alone at that.
yeah, for sure. I can definitely understand that perspective, and like I said, it's one of those things where I might get like Galaxy 2 on it later on just because I do love that game a lot as well. And obviously I already had the original one of 3D All Star. So really the Galaxy 2 is all I need to get on there. But even still, like I said, I'd be lying if, like I said, if it was actually like, if I said if it was a great value.
And our friend that Nick and I have, Video Game Fan 96, i.e. Dominic, like he gave like some thoughts on this himself during a recent Weekend Gamers episode that we had done. And he also thinks that the minor updates, like i.e. the HD upscaling and the minor additions to the Rosalina storybook pages in both games, he thinks, yeah, according to what he said in that episode, to him it's not worth the bump in price for those minor additions.
Yep. I think honestly, like I said, it's just one of those things where unless you really want both of those games for your Switch, one or two that badly, or if or if like you never played them before, like pretty much ever, that that, that there's really no reason to get it beyond that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
and not to mention Mario Galaxy had already released on the Switch 5 years ago as part of the 3D All Stars collection, and but keep in mind in that collection it came packaged with both Mario Sunshine and Mario 64, and combined that was a $60 US release, which means you were effectively getting Mario Galaxy 1 for $20 back then.
Yeah.
Which honestly is a much better price.
For sure.
Yeah.
do you have like any other thoughts you'd like to add as well, Purple?
I'm just boycotting the Switch 2 because I just think that their pricing is just too much.
Well, fair enough then.
Yeah. Now, yeah. And of course, for you non-Nintendo people out there who are hoping for this to be ported to other systems, yeah, not happening. Nintendo generally does not allow that with their exclusives.
Uh,
Yeah. But,
you're better off emulating it.
yeah. But thankfully, what's not a Nintendo exclusive is the next thing we're going to talk about, which is our thoughts on Pac-Man World 2 Repack, which of course is available on all platforms.
Yep.
And I know Nick and Slayer and us, we're definitely going to have things to say about this. And so I'll start with Nick on that one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that I absolutely fucking love this remake. I think it's just so amazing. I love that. I love like the way they redid the visual and they upgraded the visual and stuff. I think and it definitely plays differently for sure. But even still, I think most of the levels still pretty much feel as good as they once did. But the biggest thing of all, in my opinion, is the boss fights. I really just love the way they kind of changed, and of course, even fixed some of the boss fights in this game for sure. They really are just so much fun in this remake.
Yeah, and I think they changed up some of the boss fights from the original version in this remake.
Yep, they did. And in most cases, I'd say it was changed for the better for sure. It made a couple boss fights, you know, I think definitely a little bit harder for sure. But it also made them, I think, like I guess for lack of a better term, like more beefy, as if they were kind of like just kind of like more engaging.
Yeah, and for me, this game was essentially acted as a new game because I had never played the original Pac-Man World 2 on GameCube or PlayStation 2 back in that era.
Yep. But what did you think of it, Mark?
I thought it was well done.
Yep. And I know you beat the game pretty fast too, which I was surprised by. But either way, good job on that.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that game doesn't really take very long to get through. I think I beat the main story in like maybe 5 hours or something like that.
Yep.
Now,
But then I know you also did a post game too.
yeah, which added to it. So overall, maybe about 6.5 hours if we include post game. And if you know some of the shortcuts and tricks for the levels, then it's a really good game for speedrunners to try and conquer.
Yep, and I know Slayer here will definitely have some things to say about that.
Yeah, this scene. All right, so let me start from the beginning as I'll be more proper. This game is like really well done. They added more content to the game. I will not go too deep into that because I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't played the game. But this game has like post content, and the game is like pretty hard. And I gotta say, like they did the music well. The bosses have changed, so it's not like the same three mechs in the middle of the game. Mega Whale is harder, and I like that they have like the leaderboard system for like time trialers to compete on. And there's also like different categories on speedrun.com. So there's a lot for the speedrunning scene and for the casual scene. So it's like very well done. They like outshine the original game, in my opinion, by like a far shot. And I played that stuff as a kid. It has that nostalgic value, but this is like much better.
Yeah. Well, of course, I generally don't speedrun. I try to play casually.
I'm not really a speedrunner either, but even then, I can definitely see why this game would be so much fun for speedrunning.
On Yeah, I will say that it's been like 3 weeks since the development, but on week two, someone found a skip because the hub world, you can go to like the different door frames. You can just go straight to world 5 if you clip through.
Oh, now that's definitely interesting.
That is like a large like sequence break in the whole game. You can beat the game in under 30 minutes because you only have to do like world 5 and 6.
Wow.
But that's for any percent. But of course, people who want to like just do the whole game, there's called like a section of all golden foods where you have to collect all of them. It takes like about an hour and 10, which is much longer than the original game. Well, I said a lot of positive stuff, but one thing that's like off place is like the flutter. It's like I'm surprised they have that. Usually that's like Yoshi's signature thing, but I guess Pac-Man can do it too now.
Yeah, that definitely I think was pretty a pretty interesting change for sure. I didn't really use that too much in the game, to be honest with you, especially because I feel like most of the jumps uh, are able to be done easily just fine. But it is definitely an interesting gimmick for sure.
Speaking of interesting gimmicks, the Super Buck Bounce is also like an interesting gimmick because you have to like time it well, and if you do it right, you get a higher Buck Bounce than usual. And that can be very good to like reaching places early on and just going from there. So yeah, I think it just hits all the right spots. This game is like I can't really think of anything too bad.
Yep, and of course there's even the fact that uh that there's not only like a post game, like Slayer mentioned, but there's even like a kind of like a secret final boss as well. I'm not going to say what that is for those who haven't played the game, but let me just say, for those who also really like the first Penman World, it's definitely going to be be something you enjoy as well. But for you, Purple, I don't know if you've played the remake or not yet, but if you haven't, are you at least considering getting it, or is it something you're at least maybe looking forward to playing?
Sorry, say that again.
I was just asking if I don't know if you've played the game or not yet, but if you haven't, then it is a game that are you either looking forward to playing or at least are considering getting?
Pac-Man World 2 repack.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's. I already have it. I think it's great for the most part. I say the post game gets a little really challenging and frustrating at times, but overall it's a great experience that I think improves from the original.
yeah, for sure. And honestly, for $30, even though I personally paid $40 for it because I got the deluxe edition, I think honestly, for the price it is, you really can't beat it out there compared to many other games these days.
It's definitely a much better price than the Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 remasters.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's a lot
'cause-
more to it, I'd say.
Yeah,
Like
but then
the
yeah, but I
like honestly, you don't need to get all the pack dots to 100% level, which is makes it a lot easier to 100% the game.
very yeah, very true.
That is very true
And
because, like, for example, Haunted Boardwalk and Blade Mountain are like run killers. If you like miss one pack dot, you have to die, and that can take like up to 30 lives or 50,
yeah,
however long the struggle is.
and and the very
So by them removing that altogether, they made the game easier, but it also has some hard aspects like the time trials. The time trials are like some are extremely easy, but some are extremely hard, and it really takes like a lot of patience. So if you're gonna 100%, you gotta be mentally prepared for that because you do have to get the golden time trials for 100% and all the missions.
and I think like someone was saying, it's a much friendlier price than the Mario Galaxy Collection was. Whereas I think the Mario Galaxy Collection was 70 US. I think this one was 40. But of course, keeping in mind that since this is a multi-platform game, that means it's not just $40 on one and then like slightly cheaper, slightly more expensive on another. It's a flat 40 US, I believe, all across the board.
Yep. And like I said, for that price, it really is a steal.
Yep. That it is. So yeah, if you folks have not played Pac-Man World 2 Repacked yet, then that's one game you will definitely not regret purchasing. I will guarantee that right now. So now we've got the matter of well, it's kind of not a really big surprise that this happened, but Pokemon Legends ZA leaked out, and of course, for me being a fellow Pokemon fan, that's disappointing to see, because it's because I keep thinking to myself, just once can we get through a pre-release period without the game leaking out beforehand? I should have known better than to expect something like that.
I know, but unfortunately, it's also the way the internet is these days. Unfortunately, with how big it's grown and the fact that there's always a bunch of people that are going to be excited about a new game, it makes it very, very hard, if not impossible, for stuff to leak out. Even though you wish people would be more patient in that way, but either way, like I said, that is definitely disappointing, but also not surprising that happened.
Yeah, and I'm also going to add to this a little bit because this wasn't the only thing that leaked out. Now, of course, because of the fact this is being uploaded on the 15th, that means depending on which time zone you watch this in, it'll officially be out by the time this airs, which will probably be like early afternoon tomorrow. And I say officially out, even though it would be Wednesday in North America and not Thursday, is because of time zones. Because you guys have to keep in mind that like in regions like Japan, Australia, New Zealand, they're several hours ahead of Eastern, which means it releases digitally for them first, and then at that point, it's basically considered to be officially released and fair game for like people to like like do content on it, like stream it, like record let's play videos, whatever. But adding to this, Legend CA is not the only thing that's leaked out. Because this past holiday weekend, there was part 2 of the big Terra leak from last year, which revealed basically what the schedule is for all titles up to 2000 Furry. And included on there, well, actually no, I probably shouldn't go over the contents of that because well, it's not really appropriate to discuss like those kind of like things that leak out here in the channel, so I'm not going to be going over that. But there is a list of that on the Central Leaks Twitter that you can check out for yourself. But I will point out though that like one of the things that was on the top of that list is something that I already knew was going to be coming out next year anyway. It doesn't take a leak to figure that out.
Yep. But I guess I can ask if you guys have any thoughts about Pokemon Legends ZA leaking. I will say that I personally was not going to get the game either way because, well, for one thing, I'm not much of a Pokemon fan, and also because I do kind of think this game is a ripoff with the way Nintendo literally announced DLC before the game even released and stuff. But you guys have any thoughts on like the leak specifically?
About the leak specifically, no. But I do think it was kind of dumb that they made you pay $30 for like Mega Raichu or whatever.
Yep.
And then another thing. Oh, you want the Mega Stones for the Kalos starters? Sorry, you gotta have an NSO subscription. Like, that is such garbage.
Exactly.
Like, and what's even more bullshit about that is you can get the rest of the Mega Stones through normal gameplay. But it's only for the Kalos starters that you have to have an NSO subscription to get the stones for that. Like, in what world does that make sense?
It makes no sense, yeah.
Only one word to describe this. Greed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that game really does kind of feel like just basically a symbol of kind of I guess you could say like Nintendo's modern business practices, and so just for that reason alone, I wouldn't get it. Like even if I was a Pokemon fan, I probably still wouldn't get it just for that reason.
Yeah, the last Pokemon game I got was on 3DS.
Oh damn, that does go back. I was thinking Sword and Shield.
I mean,
Well, yeah, that's what I played. So I'm like speaking about myself. The last game I played Sword and Shield, and that game felt so heavily centered around the wild area, and I just didn't dig that, so I just like stopped playing after that point.
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of obligated to pick it up for like a multitude of reasons. One, being a Nintendo fan in general. Two, of course, me being a fan of Pokemon, of the Pokemon franchise in general, like I mentioned, and also 3, the fact that I'm planning to start doing my airing my Let's Play of the game on my channel this weekend. So that's going to be a fun project.
For sure. And I hope like the actual game within is still really good. Like obviously, like even ignoring like all the BS surrounding it, like it's still the game itself is really good. It's just kind of a shame that it's kind of been marred by, of course, like I said, all the BS surrounding it.
Yeah. And this is the other thing that I didn't think made any sense. Like announcing DLC before the game even comes out. But I think the reason they did that was mainly because of the fact this game was originally supposed to be out last year, and the Gen 10 game out this year, and obviously with both of those being delayed by a full year, meaning that we're only getting Legend CA now, and Gen 10 we have to wait until next year for that. Yeah, that basically shows you how thrown off of schedule Game Freak ended up being by having to do that. But that's not the only game that did that, because if you remember, I believe they announced DLC already for the upcoming Ninja Gaiden 4, and that game doesn't come out until next week.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of going to become like a new normal.
Yeah, like if this is gonna be par for the course now, regardless of which game it is, then yeah. One thing's for
Yeah, I mean,
sure, there's gonna be a lot of upset customers.
yeah, but some people will still buy it anyway. Like you said, you're still gonna get ZA, right? Even though you're not exactly thrilled with all the business decisions being made.
Well, exactly. And plus, like, I mean, and plus the game's like gonna sell like millions of copies anyway, so I don't think it really matters. I mean, you could literally have a cover that only has Charizard's flamethrower on it, and people would still buy it.
True, true.
But that is depressingly true. That is depressingly true. You can look with the way, especially with how much people love Nintendo games. They can literally like just throw out a game out there, and like the box and like the box art cover is like literally just like Yoshi like twerking it to the camera, and it would still probably sell like hotcakes.
Oh yeah, a lot of people will like the turkey, I'm sure.
Well, I know one game that's definitely gonna sell a lot once it does inevitably finally release on the Switch 2 is whatever the next big 3D Mario ends up being.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, by the way, hopefully it's Mario Galaxy 3. I am hoping that with the release of Galaxy 1 and 2, and of course the hype of the movie, that maybe this is like some secret way of like Nintendo just kind of like trying to build up hype for the fact that they're working on Galaxy 3. That might be cope on my part, but we'll see.
Well, it could be that, or maybe it could be something completely different. I mean, who knows? All I know is that whenever the next new 3D Mario does inevitably come out, I'm definitely going to be getting it. No questions asked.
You know, with them not releasing Metroid Prime 4 in over like a decade, I doubt that Galaxy 3 is gonna be a thing with them like delaying that game for so long, and it's like a staple with the Nintendo in my opinion. Not like Mario, but it's like still up there with the other Nintendo mascots.
Yeah. But we'll see, though. I mean, even with that example you mentioned, I think before Metroid Prime 4 was even announced back in 2017, I think there were a lot of people that thought that Metroid Prime 4 was never going to happen. Period. So you never know with Nintendo. They are a very like unpredictable company.
Yeah, like, because I think after that happened, where they originally announced it like years ago, and now it's only finally coming out at the end of this year, that's basically, I think what that's done is basically made them realize that, look, maybe we probably shouldn't announce or show anything about a certain upcoming game until we're 100% sure we can release it within that time frame.
Yep, that's what I would think too.
Yeah. Alright. So, yeah, I mean, now, although one game I'm pretty sure, and I'm gonna say one more thing on this subject for leaking before we move on to the next thing. I think one thing I'm pretty sure will not leak is the upcoming Age of Imprisonment because, and I'm fairly certain about that because of this, the fact that Legend ZA, because keep in mind that game was made with Switch 1 in mind, but is also getting a Switch 2 version, whereas Age of Imprisonment is Switch 2 only. And we, of course, knowing how much tighter and stricter the security measures are on the Switch 2, yeah, like there's literally zero chance that that game's leaking out before it comes out. At least I would hope it wouldn't anyway, because that's a game that features, outside of Mario, several of what are easily considered Nintendo's most popular characters. So if that were to somehow leak out beforehand anyway, I can guarantee you they would not be thrilled whatsoever.
No, they definitely would not.
Yeah. And now, moving on to the final subject. I did, by the way, should point out, I had one other topic here that I did want to talk about. However, Nick does not have that particular game yet and basically requested that we not discuss that subject at this time. So,
Yep.
yeah. So we are, and of course, I've always been one to respect his wishes. So if he doesn't want to talk about racing Crossroads yet, then that's fine. But here's what I am going to talk about is retailers pulling Xbox stock from their shelves.
Yep. I think honestly, it just goes to show you just kind of how much the Xbox brand really has struggled, really ever since the disasters revealed the Xbox One. But now they pretty much are basically on like full on life support. And I gotta admit that even though they kind of deserve it in a lot of ways, especially if, like I said, some of the stupid shit they've done over the past years, Microsoft that is. At the same time, it kind of is sad to see for sure. Especially because there definitely was a time in which it really did feel like Xbox was a legitimate competitor to Sony and Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, and they keep saying, "Oh, well, we're committed to maintaining strong partnerships with so and so retailers." Yeah, we all know that that's complete BS. Because, as we all know, in this day and age, whenever corporations say something like that, generally what happens is whenever they say that, they generally lie. Well, with maybe the exception of Nintendo. But with that exception, anything companies say these days is a flat, bold-faced lie.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you two, Slayer and Purple, have any particular thoughts on that about Xbox pulling the stock off retailers?
Wait, sorry. Wait, what did you say?
Do you guys have any thoughts about Xbox pulling stock off retailer shelves?
Not so much as I'm not in the loophole of that, but it's just like greedy on that part, and it's like a theme we've seen throughout these days. So it does not surprise me that much, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And even as someone who actually owns like an Xbox, not a Series X, but like the Series S, which of course is kind of like the inferior version of the platform, I guess you could say. Uh, I definitely have to admit that, like I said, the console really isn't worth it. I wouldn't even say that Game Pass is worth it anymore, especially because they freaking recently raised the prices of it too. Thanks, Microsoft. So
They're
yeah,
just seeing what the limit is that people buy for their stuff.
yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, it kind of feels like Microsoft basically is just kind of determined, I guess, you get to kill off like their Xbox Series 3, and it really is sad, like I said, because I definitely have fond memories of Xbox, especially when I was younger, and so to see them go down this route is just sad. But yeah, do you have like any additional thoughts on this as well, Mark?
Well, it's just, well, for me, like, it's not really that big a deal since I'm not really an Xbox person. But for the people that do play Xbox, like, this kind of would hurt them a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like honestly, at this point, if I would say, I would honestly say at this point, if you are considering an Xbox Series X, really just try to look for a PS5 instead if you can afford it, because really at this point, I feel like pretty much like any and all of the best games you can play on the Xbox Series X these days, are also coming to PS5 anyway. So it's like at that point, might as well just get a PS5,
Yeah.
or better yet, of course, if you're in the PC gaming, get a PC.
Yeah. Now, of course, just to reiterate, I did have an Xbox One for a few years before getting rid of that, mainly to make room for a certain other system in my entertainment center that I had just gotten prior to getting rid of my Xbox One. That system, of course, is the PlayStation 5 that I currently own. And just for the record, though, even when I did have the Xbox One, I never subscribed to the Game Pass service because I kind of felt that wasn't really necessary.
That's definitely fair. Unfortunately, on the Xbox Series S, you kind of really need Game Pass, honestly, to really do like anything substantive with that system, in my opinion.
Yeah. but yeah, lately, like a lot of the games that have been on Xbox for a little bit are being ported to PlayStation. So it's like you said, so it's like there's not even really any point in owning an Xbox.
Yeah. I don't even like brand loyalty, I guess, but even that can only get you so far.
Yeah.
Then again, yeah, like Nintendo does it like a lot. Like people are still buying the Switch too, and that's like very expensive. And it only at launch had like one console, which was Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
Even though there was like a better competitor, Sonic Racing Crossroads.
Yeah. Well,
It's
it's
like,
not like the PlayStation 5's price is any better. And if that, I
oh,
think
definitely
that,
not.
if that price has actually gone up a little bit a couple of times already over the next couple of years because of, well, we'll call it market
Tariffs.
conditions because that's what these companies are saying it as. But we all know it's a cover up for having to increase it because of a certain other thing that I'm not going to mention.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
But either way, like I said, but either way, like I said, it really is a shame to see Microsoft go down this path, and like I said, hopefully, hopefully things will get better, kind of with the gaming industry in general. But I got a feeling it's probably only going to get worse before it gets better, unfortunately, and that's just kind of the sad truth.
Yeah. But that's the way gaming seems to work these days. Oh, you like that digital copy of the game you've been looking forward to? Yeah. In a couple of years, we might not let you play it anymore. So, yeah. Like these companies are just so scummy these days, and it's sad. And with EA, it's even worse because on top of having to pay the full price, especially with sports games, because on top of the full price for the regular game, you then have to pay extra for some of those card packs, which you can only use for 2 weeks at a time, and then they replace them with different cards in the shop, and then you have to pay extra for those. Yeah, no, I think I'm good without all that extra stuff, thank you. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Superpower Podcast. I once again thank Nick for joining me, and I also thank our new faces for joining in on this as well.
Happy to have joined for sure. It's been great being here.
Thank you guys, obviously, for joining as well. Sorry about that. You can repeat that. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, I will see you all next time.
See ya.
All right, take care.
Bye.